All right. Welcome to the Rebel Project Podcast, the place where we dig deep with the outliers, the rebels, the truth tellers, and those who refuse to play small. Today's guest is someone that I respect on a level that's hard to even describe. Nick Alfano is a coach and an entrepreneur and one of the most radically honest humans I've ever met. In 2019, Nick made a vow to never tell another lie to anyone, including himself. And that vow, which he calls his truth agreement, has been one of the biggest challenges of his life, but also one of the most powerful catalysts of growth and transformation. Nick is the founder of the program, a mastermind built for high-level performing men, especially fathers and entrepreneurs who want to reprogram their patterns, level up their leadership, and live with unshakable purpose. He's a man who carries the presence of a rhinoceros among sheep, easily, without even trying, unstoppable and resilient, yet also deeply heart-centered. I had the privilege to work alongside him for over 2 years, and I'm grateful to call him a friend. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the climate of modern masculinity and why so many men get stuck, and whether that's a problem that we face uniquely to men or if it's a human condition. We're also going to explore Nick's commitment to radical honesty and the updates on his mission with the program and what it really takes to lead yourself before you can even think about leading the world. So, get ready to go deep. This conversation will challenge you, challenge me, challenge Nick, and inspire you, and hopefully spark something powerful in you guys today. So let's get started.
Well then, that was the intro of all intros. I'd like to say that, I've been on a little over 100 podcasts, and I've never had anybody hit it that well. I mean, some of it is our history together, 4 or 5 years, 6 years, plus 2 years working together. But man, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Beautiful Costa Mesa, California.
Yeah. I'm stoked that you came out here, and I just had to get you on the podcast. You know, I love doing these podcasts, and I love talking to people. The last episode I just released was with our buddy Nick Long, and we've talked about doing a podcast together, so I'm stoked that it's actually coming to fruition. And just the last couple days leading up to this conversation just psyched me up because you were out here, you let me join your program call with all the guys that you're coaching. Yeah. And we had a conversation prior to that. And I think that's just the perfect setting for what we're going to talk about today, which is leadership, masculinity, radical honesty. And, I alluded to your truth agreement, and I want to talk about why that's important. Why does somebody even need to be honest? Why does someone even need to have a truth agreement? What has it done for you? So, without taking too much time, give me the Cliff Notes, the ChatGPT summary of Nick Alfano's truth agreement and why you felt like that even was necessary looking back after so many years. What have you learned about yourself since that truth agreement?
So there's a lot to unpack there, but I'll keep it, like you said, ChatGPT-esque. I'll just use the word long dash every once in a while. By the way, for those of you guys using ChatGPT, ask it to get rid of the long dashes so you don't get caught using ChatGPT. We'll go all the questions you asked. Let's start with just like how it came about for me.
Yeah.
Why on earth did I decide who creates such a thing called a truth agreement? So I've built my wife now 28 years. We're high school sweethearts. We've actually known each other since 6th grade. We're actually out here right now, and you know this because you helped me do some moving the other day, and then we hung out and talked for 3 hours and so on. But moving my middle daughter from Nashville back out to Cali. So anyway, we spent 30 years raising a family in Temecula area, California. And then we got frustrated with Cali like so many others. And during the mass exodus called COVID, we moved our family to Nashville. And now we're back moving my daughter out to Newport Beach. And we'll see if she can make it. And the world's most expensive. I thought we were in Brentwood, Tennessee, which is kind of expensive. And this completely destroys that. So, but none of that would happen if I didn't get, and I love how you say radically honest, because that's a completely different version than just I'm honest, I have integrity, I tell the truth. I mean, brutal, like I call it relentless truth, merciless truth. And so I basically started this crazy journey of what I guess people call personal development, when I was estranged from my wife. You know the story, but I cheated on her off and on for 17 years, so a 28-year history. I lost my virginity to this woman, to my wife, my beautiful wife. And so that was probably the story I hung on to the most, was like, is she the one? How do I know? Is this what love is? Because I don't know. I haven't experienced other people. And And then later on, I would figure out after doing a ton of work the last 6-7 years that those stories were all bullshit. Those were lies. And I was just using them as stories that I could latch onto to basically justify my behavior. But what I was really looking for was just affirmation from other people.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't even about like the sex so much or the girl. Like I actually called myself a serial monogamist, meaning I can tell you right now, I've had maybe one night stands in my life. That's just not me. You know me, I'm very emotional.
Yep.
And so anyway, I would attach myself to these girls and just to basically receive things that I wasn't receiving inside of my four walls. And again, it's not just sex. It was just like they made me feel like King Kong. Like I felt like the man. And I didn't feel like that inside of my four walls, inside of my home, when the reality is, and you've heard this a million times, the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where?
Where you water it.
Where you water it.
That's right.
And so I wasn't watering. I wasn't actually showing up as the man required to receive those feelings, that reciprocation at home. So I sought it elsewhere. Blamed my wife, blamed everybody but myself. And then a soccer buddy, a soccer dad, noticed that we weren't showing up to games together anymore. Like it was very obvious we were separated, right? Maybe not fully divorced, but obviously something's going on with Nick and Lindsay. And he said, hey, dude, I'm going to go to this event in San Diego. It's pretty aggressive. It's actually like a little too aggressive for me, but I think it's right up your alley. And if you would have told me 6-7 years ago that I would journal and meditate every day, I'd probably punch you in the mouth, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like that just, I don't come from that world, you know?
Of course.
And so I told him, no, that shit's woo-woo. I don't walk on coals. I don't do that like Tony Robbins, you know, BS. And so he just was very persistent. And I owe this man everything to this day because we call him Mr. X, but his name's Kyle. He knows who he is. He actually lives about 10 minutes from here. And I finally went. Yeah. You know Kyle.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if he wants me. I could probably post his full name. His name's Kyle Kiroff. He's my money manager now, and he lives locally. So shout out to Kyle for noticing that there was a problem, having the courage or whatever you would say to say, "Hey, dude, I think you need help." Because that's probably where a lot of men struggle too. Is like, can you even pull your buddy's card and say, "Hey, dude, like I don't think you're showing up the way you need to for your wife. I'm gonna go do some work on me. Would you like to come along?" You know, which is it's an ego hit in itself to receive that information, let alone get the balls to tell another dude that.
Yeah.
So he has the nerve. He brings me there. Within the first 20 minutes of this event, they made us do, there's 1,600 guys in a room in San Diego, California. We're doing push-ups face to face with another man we've never met. You couldn't sit next to the people that brought you as a rule, whatever. And we're screaming at each other. And can I cuss on your podcast? I did a little bit already. Okay. I am a fucking liar was the actual sentence.
Wow.
And you had to scream that, like almost spit talk it to the dude that you're facing.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of emotions going in there. A, who's this dude? B, this is weird. This is uncomfortable. But also, am I a liar? Why am I screaming this? You know, because most men won't admit that they're a liar.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to do.
100%. The short version is I put some money towards, you know, the back end of that event to work with somebody one-on-one. I didn't end up working with them. I found another gentleman that spoke from stage, and I've been attached to him is actually Nick Long, the gentleman you had on your podcast most recently. And I've been working with him for 5-6 years. And, you know, at that event, I was an attorney at the time. I'm not a lawyer anymore, but I crafted this agreement because I was just so blown away by this concept of truth. You know, the gentleman, Garrett J. White, that spoke from stage, he said this sentence, and I'll never forget it because it changed my life. He said, in a world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. And it pierced my soul, pushed me back in my chair. And that's when I started crafting, as an attorney, I started crafting this agreement to basically never tell a lie. And when you start to kick up all those rocks around like how many areas in which we lie as men, it's pretty mind-blowing because it's not just like the direct lie. There's omission of truth. Yeah. There's bending facts. There's telling half truths. There's, you know, the little white lie that we were told, you know, maybe that's the way to go so you don't offend somebody. Bullshit, right? Like, you know, and so I just went on this crazy truth campaign, truth crusade. I'm still living it. Matter of fact, you know me. If anyone does anything that even feels like a lie,
I saw you do it yesterday on the call.
Yeah, I'm on my call because my guys still haven't got that vernacular. To tell you the truth, to be honest with you, honestly, full transparency. You know what I mean? Well, if I'm being real with you, like just all these things that are just common turn of phrase. People script them into. Now that I've said it, I hope your audience just be aware because now you'll see it on commercials. It's everywhere, and basically started living this life of truth, lost all my friends instantly, came clean with my wife on all the cheating. We separated completely.
Wow.
It took a lot of years to get that back together. Now we're the best we've ever been. So much so that I moved over to Nashville a year ahead of her, and she stayed back with my daughter, who was finishing her senior year. And so for us to be, 2,500 miles apart with my history, I mean, there was times where I couldn't even, go to Vegas with the boys. There was like no way, not without basically splitting up for almost like causing a fight so I could go to Vegas, because it was just not an option.
Yeah.
And so the amount of work we've done now, we walk couples through infidelity, among other things. We basically just, help men stop lying, because the truth is, they say truth will set you free, and it's so liberating. But I want everybody to get onto this side of the fence, because it is the most like, I hate to say I don't care anymore, but like, everything is out there, and if it's not out there, I'll put it out there, and I've said it, or you just haven't found it yet. I don't care what you think of me, because I know what I think of me.
Oh yeah, that's a big distinction.
Yeah, and so like, I'm not for everybody. I've had guys leave my event because I say the F word too much. I had a guy tell me his ears were bleeding, and he left on day 2.
Yeah,
that's okay, brother. Like, I hope you find someone else, because I believe the same message, different messenger, because this is all coming through me anyway.
Right,
it's not mine. And so like, I'm just so obsessed with this concept, because it has changed everything for me, and now multiple other men. But it's a difficult one to grasp, to wrap your head around. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, looking back, have you identified what it is you were hungry for? Like, it feels like in a moment, like before you went to that event, you're doing these push-ups, yelling, "I'm a liar." Looking back now, hindsight's 2020, have you figured out what your soul was searching for, or what you needed? Was it simply truth, or was it transparency? Was it connection? Have you thought about that at all? Because it seems like, on the outside, you're living the life. A lot of people looked up to the lifestyle that you had. Like, oh man, dude, he's got money, he's got chicks, he's got a wife, he's got a family, he's got it all, and he's doing his thing. Like, nobody can tell him anything. And you're like, yeah, I'm kind of like, in some circles, you're the man.
Oh yeah.
And now you're blowing up your whole life. Why? What was that soul need? What was that hunger? Have you looked back at that or reflected on that?
Yeah, I have. I mean, the short answer was always like, I don't feel full. I don't feel, and people throw this word fulfillment around a lot.
Yeah.
But it just felt like, to your point, I checked every box that most people, like the clinical definition of success says to check, like 250K sports cars, white picket fence, beautiful home. My wife's gorgeous. My kids are all like straight A, like captain of their teams. Like, I had the muscles, the tattoos. I employed over 600 kids. I say kids, 600 people worked for me. So I was helping other people make money. I was making passive income well over, 7 figures a year with,
wow.
Like every box was there. So like you said, optics were like, oh, Nick's crushing life.
Yeah.
But Nick was miserable, bro. You know what I mean? So much so that, like, again, my addiction was affirmation. It was never enough. And I had to I needed people to tell me I'm awesome all the time. So much so that there was one point in that story where I had a $3,800 car note, about a $250K car, and I had good credit because whatever. So I was almost like, to see if I could. I was like, I'm putting $0 down and I'm walking out with that $250K car. So I had a $3,800 car note, and we had a $2,200 mortgage, something like that. Like, I was that guy pulling that car up to that house. And so I, like, clinical douchebag, like, checked every box, but everyone told me I was the man. So what else am I going to believe? I'm the man, right? Confirmation bias says, just keep telling me I'm awesome, and I'll just keep trying to be awesome.
Yeah.
But then when all the lights are down and you don't have the car, and I can tell you when the moment actually happened. I still don't know if I have the answer that you're looking for, but I can tell you that I was estranged from my wife. I was in Corona, California. I just slept with a girl, not my wife. We were split up. And I don't know if I kicked her out, but she left, right? It was one of those things where, like, I feel something's weird. Just get out of my apartment. It was an apartment. Get out of here, like, leave. And I looked in the mirror, and I think this is where guys need to get to this place, because this is what did it for me. The quality of a man's life is 100% related to the quality of questions he's willing to ask himself.
Yeah.
And most men are scared to ask the tough questions. And so I sat in front of this mirror and I started asking myself, like, who is this dude looking back at me? And I don't know how the moment happened. It was just a random, like, there was nothing leading up to this that I could see. There was no even looking back, there was no breadcrumb trail. Like, it was just like something punched me in the gut, said, get this girl out of here. I stared in the mirror. For me, it felt like hours. I don't know how long it was. But eventually I started sobbing, like, uncontrollably.
Really?
Yeah, like snot crying, dude. I can't talk about it right now. Because I, like you said, like, I have everything that you're supposed to have, but who is this dude? And so, like, when you ask guys to strip away, because the first thing you ask somebody when you ask who they are, they go straight into all their accomplishments and accolades.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's like, It's not what have you done? Like, who are you at your core? And that's a tough question to ask. And that's why I kept asking the man in the mirror. I'm like, if you didn't make a ton of money, if you didn't have the muscles and tattoos and the cars and the kids and the wife and all the things and built the business and got the degrees and whatever it is, like if you didn't have these things, who would you be? And I couldn't answer it. And I lost my mind. And that's what kind of like put me on this road of trying to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, just like we talked about the other day, your life becomes this incredibly tangled up ball of twine. And I think that was the moment where you realized, man, this is a mess. It seems great, but I created this mess. And so from that moment, this was like 2019, you started to untangle that mess.
Yeah.
And I met you almost 2.5 years later in 2021. And it seemed like at that moment you had the ball untangled, but you didn't know how to rope it, to wind it up into a cord yet.
Yeah.
And turn it into the most powerful rope.
That's a beautiful, beautiful just vision right there. Analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was from when I saw, everything kind of was settled. You had detangled most of the stories, most of the beliefs, most of the patterns that got you to this place where you had everything the world says you needed to have, but you didn't recognize who you were. And you also didn't like yourself, maybe in a way. So I meet you at this point where you've got all the threads laid out in a nice organized fashion. And now it's like, what do I want to rope it? What do I want to build now?
Yeah.
A thick, strong rope that's going to give me a little ways, or my long one. What am I going to do with this? And then you're getting new threads of life every day and every month and every week also. And so I met you in a mastermind, which was our great introduction. And that's why I wrote in the intro, you're like a rhinoceros among sheep. Like you just that visual of like, dude, a rhino just walking around in a herd of sheep. You just are you. You're so athletic, so strong. And you just had this aura of grittiness. And then Nick brings you on stage and you start bawling like a water balloon that just got popped. And I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know men like this, like who let it all out, but have this like, I'll kill you exterior.
Yeah.
You got tattoos. Like, for those of you guys who don't, you're looking at Nick on the YouTube, like he's a strapped dude. And so when I come in and I'm not around those circles, it's not my thing. Like, I'm like, wow, like my mind was blown just meeting you. And we connected. I loved what you had to say, because you were at this, look, I've been a shithead.
Yeah.
I figured it out. I've untangled it for 2 years.
Figure it out.
I'm doing the work, but I'm committed to it. And that commitment is really what stuck out. And so that and you kind of had the seedling of this idea of the program.
Yeah.
At that moment, you weren't really talking about it yet, but a couple months later, 6-7 months later, after we met, it started to become more of the conversation, and you launched this thing called the program.
Yeah.
Can you tell me and tell the people watching kind of what is the program, and why are you so committed and passionate about it, and what is it that you're trying to present or deliver to men?
So I mean, after holding up the mirror for multiple years and really asking myself powerful questions, and then the next step is listening to the answers,
Yeah.
And the answers are all coming from source, and it took me a long time to figure that out too, and actually, listen. And it was like, hey, dude, and some of this was conversations with Long, because you saw how I was showing up in there. I was kind of like the number 2 in that, like I was running all the stuff, like similar to what Hudson's doing for me now. Hudson.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, you've proven you can do it. There's people that are here just because you're here. Long is giving you the blessing. You continue to have conversations with God that say, hey, it's time to go. What would it look like to build something of your own? And most importantly, what will be different about yours than everybody else's? And have you done enough work on you where it's essentially an extension of you? Again, same message, different messenger. Because, you've got Garrett White, Sean Whalen, Bedra, like the list goes on. There's all these guys out there putting, I don't want to say a similar message, but, trying to get men to wake up and see who they are and be strong.
Right.
And what did it for me, because I think I'll go back to my whole concept around, like, I can't do this woo-woo shit. I just don't believe in it. And then I didn't. And now I'm very much into it. But what I'm saying is, what I felt was a story for a lot of men, and then I started investigating it by asking men, was because we're logical creatures, until you can explain to me the science and logic behind change, number one, everyone fears change as is, right? So there's already a fear of change, but then there's also like that's not for me, very common for guys. And a lot of that's ego. but most of it is lack of knowledge and then the right knowledge. And so basically what the program is designed to do is simply, and everyone should know this if you guys have a personal brand, I don't know your audience, or if you have something you're building, the first question you should always ask is, who do I serve and what problem do I solve?
Right.
And if you can't answer that, keep going back to the drawing board until you can, or don't launch the thing. So who do I serve? I serve men only. And I serve male entrepreneurs, and I prefer they're married with kids because we can do a lot more. I call it damage, but we can add a lot more value. So male entrepreneur married with kids. What problem do I solve? And you're supposed to be able to find this in a one-word problem. Ours is hyphenated, but I solve the problem of self-sabotage. We solve the problem of self-sabotage. And what I believe to be unique about the program is we approach it from a neuroscience background, and we can basically show you all the way down to like a molecular level why you're in your own way. Like I can show you the biology that has you stuck. I can pinpoint about the timeline when it happened. We can walk side by side and I can show you when it happened in your life. I can help you recognize all the different ways that you're sabotaging. And once you can play that game and I teach you how to interrupt those patterns and then install new patterns, AKA a new program, it's a wrap. You can build whatever you want. Anybody can build whatever they want. No, people hear that all the time, but like there's guys out there that will be, and it's interesting to be where I'm at. I've helped a lot of guys make a lot more money than I've ever made.
Yeah.
Just getting them out of their own way. But they already had an operating system that said they were supposed to build big shit. But they were stuck, and they had lines of code and defective areas of their program that had them stuck in a self-sabotaging loop. And so, my wife and I talk about this all the time. She's like, you've helped a lot of guys like blow up, but we're still kind of hovering where we're hovering. And bills are paid, and we moved my daughter out here, and I've got 2 other kids in college and so on. But we don't make what we used to make. But I can't stress this enough. Like I hope again everybody gets here. I fly out of bed every day.
Yeah.
It lights me up to get a voice note or a text message from somebody or even their wife, like just explaining how much we've impacted their life. And I know, my man will take care of the rest and bills will be paid. And sometimes my wife's like, man, like, how do we do this for us? But at the same time, I know this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I think I went on a tangent there. But
No. It's incredible. Like, being part of it when you launched the program, I was fortunate enough to be part of
first line of
coaching staff and running a few of the events. And for those of you guys listening that have not been to an event like this, it's really hard to describe in words what happens, because in a 2.5 day experience, I've developed relationships with men that are going to be lifelong friendships. And I've watched men show up completely broken and completely just have one little thing switch, and then they go and make up to, I think, $16 million and was it $22 million in a year? I've seen people go from having 5 businesses, canceling them all except one, and then making millions.
They're doing 70-something million this year.
And I've seen people also leave events and go, hey man, before I went home to my family, I was gonna be with my side chick, but I'm gonna go straight home to my wife, and I'm gonna tell her everything.
Yep.
And intentionally blow up their life because they've been exposed to a man who had a vision for himself and has and it's not even a vision for himself. It's like almost you distilled yourself down to the most purest form of truth. You can't dilute truth. You can dilute a lie, you can distort a lie, but you can't dilute truth. And what's so incredible about like these events, and many people do these events, but there's something special about the program if you guys have not been. And like Nick said, all of us men have a program, an operating system that is running that tells you you're worth $100 million, but you're living at $100,000 a year. Yeah. Why? And the program is that catalyst to unlock that. But there's people who have a program and a calling to stay at that lower.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I want to make it as clear. It's not all about
it's not all about money,
bro. Like most of our biggest wins, and we've polled our 500 some odd members, have been in the family F. So we have faith, family, fitness, and finance.
Right.
And the finance ones are fun to tout. It gets people's attention. Everyone wants to make more money, and yeah, we can help you there. But it's in that order for a reason, because the faith first, then your 4 walls, then family, then fitness, and then finance, with the concept that the money is a byproduct of the man that you become in the first 3. And until you get those 3 houses in order, because I've been there, you might be good at making it, but I promise you it's easy come, easy go. and you're not happy, and it will literally be taken from you at a moment's notice because you haven't built the foundation. You're not the man capable of holding on to. Some people in the real estate game, when it was like clubbing baby seals to do refis because the market has a funny way of correcting itself, and all of a sudden you saw who the real killers were and who the real people were, and you'll see that build and burn, that peak and valley. You'll see that time and time again because most men might have hit a streak, might have gotten in a pocket for a minute because their buddy said the margins were good, but they don't even believe that they're worthy of that, and so they burn it all down.
Yeah. Well, that just goes to show there's so many levels to this game, and the value that a man sees in himself oftentimes dictates the material value that he has in his life. But sometimes you can be the most valuable person internally and you don't need anything materially to validate that. Yeah. And you can just be happy being the greatest father and providing a modest lifestyle financially for your family. Yeah. That's okay. But the biggest thing, like you say, self-sabotage, but you also deliver truth to people. And I think that's such a refreshing, pure glass of water that people are like so used to having contaminated water their entire life that truth is so refreshing. And these events are just incredible. So for those of you guys listening, if you haven't been to an event, check out the program. I'll plug it right now, reprogram.ai. Yep. Still the website. Go check that out. They just got this amazing property out in Arkansas for their events. It's incredible. The last event looks amazing. So let's pivot this into why does a guy even need truth? What's wrong with him just living his life in delusion?
I mean, my favorite F word, we threw a lot around, right? Faith, family, fitness, finance, and all the F words that I shouldn't say, is feedback.
Yeah.
And I think until you can learn to process feedback from a place of truth, it's hard to ever course correct or make the necessary changes. So the reality is this: 99% of men out there, if they're brutally honest, as they listen to this, aren't living the life that they feel either called to or that they thought they would by now, or right. So let's just say an average dude is 35 listening to this, and at 35, if he takes an honest inventory, his health and fitness is not where he thought it would be, right? Maybe where he was an athlete in high school. His relationship with his wife is not where he thought it would be, right? She never initiates. They have sex once every 2 weeks. Maybe she initiates on his birthday, but even that you're right. So that's a common theme. He's not connected with his kids. He doesn't even know how to connect with his kids, right? And so he may say a lot of things, and this is an important one for my guys listening. The most important lessons you will ever engage in with your kids are always caught, not taught. And so there's dads out there that are trying to say the right things, but these kids are no dummies. Eventually they'll figure dad out, because if you tell your kid you could be anything, you tell your kid discipline is important, you say all these things, but you're not living that, you're not about that life. Well, they're always watching. And so a lot of dads aren't showing up right for their babies. A lot of men in general are just not connected to, and we say God in my container, but they just don't have any sort of spiritual connection. So they don't truly connect with daily or believe in something bigger than themselves. And so until you, again, step one is just getting radically honest with self and say, where am I across these things? And then it's okay. We never preach shame or guilt. So it's interesting because I'm always trying to point out and hold up a mirror for guys, and I want them to be brutally honest. Again, truth. Where are you right now? What's today's date? Can I talk about dates while we film this? I don't know when you're going to launch it, right?
Yeah.
It's June 28th, 2025 as we film this podcast. Where are you on this date? Where are you when you listen to this? Whatever date it is, just stop, pull the car over when you get home, and just ask yourself how you're showing up in faith, family, fitness, and finance. And then how most guys will peacock, will flex. I'm good. I'm doing all right. We do all right. We'll get by. Oh, no, my wife loves me. You don't get it. We have sex all the time. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My wife initiates because I'm the man. Okay. Does she feel safe? Does she feel fully seen, fully loved, fully heard?
Right.
It's
super deep. There's a lot. There's so much depth to this game,
and most men won't go deep because deep is vulnerability, and vulnerability is weakness. And
yeah. What would you say the three biggest offenders or obstacles are for men in life that prevent them from entertaining radical honesty, being vulnerable, considering a new way of being a compassionate, caring husband and father, and kind of laying down the ego. Like, what would you say the three biggest offenders in life or obstacles in life that men face?
I think lack of clarity is one. Like, how many dudes could, if right now, again, as you listen to this, can you walk up to, or I just ask, like, what do you want? What do you want, bro? What do you mean, what do I want? That's it. That's the question. That's it. There's no, because if I say, what do you want in your bank account by the end of the year? Okay, now we're getting specific. What do you want in your marriage? You know, how do you want her to show up? How many vacations do you want to take a year? Do you know, no, just what do you want?
Yeah.
And most guys are unclear on that. And don't get me wrong, that's a very difficult, open-ended question by design. But the goal is to, and I'm going to say the word journal, don't turn off some of my tough guys. Like, you have to continue to reflect on what it is that you want and then start making strides toward that. And so to me, the next step is awareness. I think most men just absolutely lack the necessary awareness. And most of it is self-awareness of how they're showing up. And their ego will always stop that. Their subconscious, which is their program, right? By design, it's called subconscious, which if we unpack it, sub means below, conscious means awareness. So subconsciously, you're doing things that don't serve you, but it's below your awareness. So until you can heighten your awareness and start to become aware of the patterns and the things and the way that you show up and the stories that you're married to and the habits that you have and the associations you probably shouldn't have, like, nothing's going to change for you. So step one is getting really clear on what you want. Step two is becoming hyper aware of all the ways that you're getting in your way.
Yeah.
But without beating yourself up. And I can't stress this enough. Like, my biggest pet peeve in this, like, self-development industry, personal development, whatever it's called, is the guys that just mother F you to death and call you shitty and lazy and fat and you suck and you're not disciplined and you go do a cold plunge. And like, I'm not a fan of, and you know who they are, right?
Yep.
I think, you know, the lowest, well, I don't think I know, right? The lowest frequency that you can vibrate at and just attracts more shit is shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much worse out there. Hate's a big one too, right? Envy. So what I'm saying is, like, I want people to understand how obsessed I am with truth, where it's like, just be honest with yourself without judgment, right? Be curious about yourself. Why do I start 75 hard and quit on day 22, day 15? I'm not a shitty person.
Yeah.
But there's something there. What stops? So how can I become more aware of the stories I tell myself, the excuses I give, why that guy has it and I don't? Like, just become aware.
Yeah.
Right? And then you become clear. Why are you doing 75 hard? Is it going to get you? Is that behavior helpful or harmful towards the things that you say that you want? Anyway, so clarity, awareness, and the next one is just accountability. I call it fierce accountability.
Yeah.
That's why I get to show up as, like, hard Nick. Like, I love showing up as, like, you know, I think what it does, I'm 240 pounds, tattoos and muscles and things, and I speak from stage. I think when you're the rhino in the room and you do start crying,
yep,
I believe it used to be, I thought, a weakness of mine, because my son has this too. My son cries a little bit. And before I had these tools, so he's 18 now, but before I learned the things that I know now, my style of parenting was, I used to actually yell at him. I would tell him, bite your fucking lip. It was like a common phrase in my house, because he would cry and his lip would quiver. And I said, bite your fucking lip. We don't fucking cry.
Ooh.
You're a man. You do not fucking. And I was proud. I remember having one of my cousins at a Christmas party come up and say he was proud of the way I handled my son, because my son started crying because someone took his toy. He was like 7 years old, bro.
Yeah.
But all I saw in him was, like, years of pain, because I got bullied when I was younger. I would tear up for every reason. Most of it was just sheer frustration. Yeah. Like, if you and I are about to fight right now, I would tear up. I'm not, like, being a sissy. That's what happens biologically in me. The trigger is tears, and I'll be punching you, and I'll be wailing, bro. I'll be crying at the same time. It makes no sense, I know. And so I saw this future for my son, and so for the first so many years, I was like, don't express yourself. Don't be a bitch. And so, yeah, I think just, like, I don't know where I'm going with that, the crybaby thing, but I had a moment right there.
Fierce accountability.
Yeah, fierce accountability is, so giving guys permission to be vulnerable and cry, but also just holding them fierce accountable to the shit that comes out of your mouth. Like, part of telling the truth is honoring your word. Right. And so many men, like, wiggle out of, like, agreements and wiggle out of commitments. No one's really committed. They just say the thing to say the thing.
Right.
You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to 75 hard.
Yeah, I was going to go back to that. Like, I think the biggest mistake that men can do is do 75 hard and then quit, and then never ask themselves or investigate why they actually quit.
What am I learning about me?
Why did you start in the first place? And that's that lack of awareness.
Yeah.
Like, and the clarity thing too is so important. And like, you know me, like when I'm coaching, I don't really volunteer a ton of direction, but I love the Socratic method. I love all the questions.
Yeah.
I question. And I found that makes a lot of people uncomfortable because they don't have clarity. Because it's like, what do you want? Well, I don't just stop there. I go, and then, and then, and then.
Until they shut down.
And then. And then they get frustrated because they don't have clarity. So now I'm the bad guy because I'm asking them, what do you want?
Most men want to be told what they want, and they want to be handheld and guided, and they want the hack and the blueprint and the framework and the step-by-step, and how did this guy get it? I want that guy's life.
100%.
So if he just tells me how he got that life, my ego says I'm a killer. You know how many guys have told me, like, Nick, I want to make more money. I just need you to tell me how you did it. How'd you help that guy do it? How'd he do it? Just tell me, bro. I got it from you.
He'll write you a blank check for that answer.
I'm pretty awesome. I execute at a high level. Just give me the blueprint and watch me work. And I'm like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Cool. We specialize in that, by the way. Like one of my favorite things to do is to give away as much shit as possible for free, because to me, that's when the real work starts. As soon as you step into that framework, you're going to expose yourself. Yeah. And I'm going to see your program, and I'm going to see procrastination, lack of self-worth, avoidance patterns. I'm going to see it all. And then I get to work. That's the difference. That's where I think a lot of these programs, no pun intended, are missing, is like they're selling the how I got here from stage. And that's great. And don't get me wrong, like some of the stuff, if not all the stuff in that framework is gorgeous and it worked. Why? Because the guy on stage did it.
Yeah.
But he's not you and you're not him. But we all want that. And then when it doesn't work for us, we have an excuse and we blame the guy. And we blame the thing, and then we go out and we look for another framework or another blueprint or another strategy. And it's like, come on, dude. Until you hold up a mirror and figure out why you're getting in your own way, nothing changes for you.
Well, the mirror is one of the most powerful tools, I think, that any man has access to for free. And it does, a reflection doesn't lie. But as you were just speaking, something came up for me. Like, you're 6-7 years deep into this game right now.
Yeah.
You know, the image of building a kingdom or a castle, like you've been working on your kingdom of truth and life and transparency and clarity and awareness for 6-7 years. Like, you know, so if someone comes in, they're going to be, wow, he's got this over here, he's built these things of character traits, principles you live on, values, virtues, awareness. Like, you've got all the tools. You've collected all these tools to build these things after 6 years of doing the work, is what we call it. That can be super intimidating for a guy coming in who's like, dude, I just got a hammer yesterday and I got my first 2x4 of awareness and clarity. I know I want to build this, but you know, the temptation is to just copy what Nick did, and do what Nick built. And so they draw out the plan that looks exactly like your life. And so 6 years later, they go down this path and they built Nick's life, and it doesn't fulfill them, because they did not follow their own plan and have the courage to draw their own blueprint. You've got the skill, you've got the tools, you've got the wisdom, and you don't have to go, hey, just build what I built. Yeah. That's not what you do.
No.
You help them design their own. What is the biggest, like, do you think courage is lacking in men, or what is it that makes men want to just follow and kind of copy or duplicate what they see rather than originate and create something completely new? Is there a risk involved?
Courage is a good word. I think obviously there's a lot of risk there. It's really a fear of being exposed, and not only not exposing yourself to the world as who you really are, but for most, it's exposing yourself to yourself. And in my experience, to your point, it's just easier and it's safer to copy someone else's work.
Yeah.
And to your point, what happens is, you know, this is, and I've said this a few times, and maybe I've heard it somewhere, but the worst thing is not to fail. The worst thing is to succeed at the thing that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so what you don't want to do is finally climb this ladder and realize that you're on someone else's roof.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And some guys execute very well, but they never stop to reflect. So we have this tool called R5, which is return, report, reflect, realign, repeat. I won't get into the strategy behind it, but essentially what it is every single night you're doing a bit of reflection. Because to your point, and this is where we do encourage this behavior, is look, you can start down this path because I know there's some proven fundamentals here, but at some point you have to make your own path.
Right.
And the knowledge of what is your own path, that awareness and clarity about what you really want only comes from starting down the path. And what you don't want to do is put your head down, execute at a high level against Nick's blueprint or, all my guys that we've done well for, they have their own basically variation of this.
Yep.
So yeah, I could give you 75 blueprints for different guys in different industries, or maybe they had the same problem with their marriage that you have. Great. Start down that path. But if you're not coming up for air and saying, all right, is this what I want? How does this feel? Again, is this map or is this plan or is this strategy? Is it helpful or harmful to the thing that I said that I want? Question one is always, what the hell do you want?
Right.
And I agree. Like it's tough because most guys can't answer what they want, so they're just busy getting after what everyone else says that they need to get after, And which was me. Then that's like, and this is brand builders. This is Rory Vaden says this. You are most uniquely qualified and powerfully positioned to help the person that you used to be.
Yeah.
And so I genuinely feel like our message attracts guys who have been checking the boxes, but they know something's missing. You know what I mean? Have been checking the boxes, but haven't been showing up at home.
Yeah.
Have been checking the boxes on Instagram, says, cool, they've made a couple bucks. Maybe they have a nice car. Maybe they bought the house, but they're not fully showing up in their faith and in all areas. And they're trying to figure out, and some of them are just looking for what's calling to them. Something's calling them. Something's pulling at them. And they're trying to get more clarity and more awareness on what that is.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, that quote. You're uniquely qualified to solve the problems.
Yeah, the person that you used to be.
Yeah.
So we've helped a lot of guys who cheat on their wives stop cheating on their wives. Right. We've helped a lot of guys who have built big shit but feel empty inside, build shit that has meaning,
right,
and purpose, where you fly out of bed and you can't wait to help people. Impact over income is our entire mission statement.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm always looking for, when I first started out, I didn't know I was helping old Nick. But now, after 4.5 years of my own, so 7 years in the game, 4 years building the program, I've realized, holy shit, these are a lot of like guys that were exactly where I was. And, and if you're gonna ask someone for help the guy who's already crossed that river that's flowing so fast you're scared to even jump in.
Oh yeah,
I'm on the other side, bro. Hey, come here, let me show you. Now, guess what? I'm not gonna show you how I did it. I'm gonna get you started, and then we're gonna figure out how the best way to cross is for you.
So this is a perfect segue into what I want to go next. Since you've been in it 6 years. And you launched the program, and you've helped, what, over 300?
Yeah, we've had 500 and change come through events, and then we've had over 300 members. So some people sign up, some people just love the event.
That's a lot of data that you collected from men, and a lot of stories and conversations that you've had, and you're really good about knowing the details about every person, not just for a data collection sake, but because you care. Yeah. What have you learned about yourself over the last 4 or 5 years of launching the program, meeting these men, seeing where they all, they get all hyped, they sign up, they leave, then they come back and they're like, and then we hear the same stories. Like on the call the other day, you're like, dude, I've heard this story from you at least 3 times. Like, what have you learned about yourself? Because what you see out there oftentimes is a lesson for us. So what have you learned about yourself? And then also, what have you witnessed keep men in the cycle?
So question number one, what am I learning about me, or what have I learned about myself in this process? Number one, I spent a lot of time unpacking this story of like the hard closer. So I've always made a lot of money, but when I look back on how I made money, it was very much Boiler Room, Wolf of Wall Street, like just aggressive closing. I used to pride myself on like breaking all the sales records no matter where you put me.
Yeah.
Like I would walk around and say, I can close anybody. And that was kind of led to the women thing too. Like I can close that girl right there, I'm going to close it. And where I'm going with this is what I've learned about myself in the last few years that I've just pivoted to trying to help other people win and then letting God take care of the rest is I swung the pendulum so far from a hard closer that I don't even know, not that I don't know. When I go to pitch my own product or service, you can watch me on stage, and you've seen this. I get like a guttural, visceral like reaction. I can't even do it anymore. And I do it, but I do a very like casual, lackadaisical, and I love it. But what I'm saying is one of the biggest things I've learned is like I'm so detached from old me that when I start to see old me show up, and some people would say it's necessary, you got to be aggressive and get them over the line because, Nick Long makes this argument to me all the time. He's like, bro, you have an obligation to do whatever it takes to get them on this side of the fence, because you know what you do for them on this side of the fence. So if you half-ass close, how many men are going to leave that event because Nick had a visceral reaction to don't want to say tactics because I don't really have any tactics, but what I'm saying is like he just didn't show up, aggressive enough to have people. You have to slap dudes sometimes and get them out of their own way. And so I've learned a whole lot about how I show up now, and I'm so married to this new version of me that like there's probably some sort of hybrid or some version of me that has to show up once in a while. Old Nick has to show face. But the biggest thing I've learned about me is I want this so bad for other people. And I take it very personal if they don't want it as bad for themselves. Like I can't want it for you more than you want it for you, but that's often been the case.
Right.
And I've had other mentors because again, you should all have mentors. Like I mentor men for a living, but I have people I have to roll to because accountability is huge, right? And they will tell me you cannot be obsessed with results. All you could do is give men the opportunity, give them the tools, but you can't, make them pick up the tools. You can't make them swing the hammer into the 2x4 and bang the nail in. And I call bullshit. And I'm still wrestling with this to this day. As we said on this podcast, I'm like, and then I have to ask myself just how much I unpack it. Is that ego? Is it ego to be obsessed with the results? Because I want every single person that comes near me and comes in my container to have insane, like unquantifiable results. And so do I genuinely care about, like, I know I care about them, but sometimes I have to ask myself, why are you pushing results so hard? So you can tout a 6.3x ROI. So you can tout an 83% percentage on that. Like, is it for Nick or is it because you genuinely give a shit about these people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still wrestling with that one because like we have this thing called ding dong dick kick. Why? I get some people think it's funny and it gets attention where I go hunt you down and we knock on and we ding dong and we mail you a cup. It's funny. You could check the video on social. But at the same time, does that serve the men? When I have to pull them out of hiding every time? I don't know. It's fierce accountability, which I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
But am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me? Because if someone signs up for a program for a year and they hide after month 4, right, and they don't feel like doing the work, they're stuck in some sort of cycle, some sort of loop, I'm going out of my way to go. I'm going to their house. Yeah. I'm going to their fucking house and I'm knocking on their fucking door. Because I take it personal. So that's something I'm learning that I need to figure out and be better at. Because it's been stifling the growth of the program. The program's never gotten above 75 members at one given time because I'm so obsessed with making sure if you're in the container, we're finding a way.
Right.
If that's an extra call that you didn't pay for, I'm going to figure it out. If that's
Yeah. So the image of like, in the Bible that talks about the 99 sheep and one wanders off and the shepherd leaves the 99 to go find the one, and so that's what I hear when you tell me what you
I've
care
had guys
about.
Quit on me.
You care about the results. And so that's what I hear. But also another question that pops into my mind as you're saying all that is like, are you the savior to these guys or are these guys the savior to themselves? And do they refuse to like take up their cross? Because like, you could only save others if you've saved yourself. Like if 2 people are drowning, one person has to get to the dry land or find something so they can pull the other alongside with them. But if the person wants to drown or they're used to it or comfortable with it, can you actually save these men? Or is it just you're hitting them at the right time where they're like, I know I need to save myself, and you're the guide, you're the chauffeur, you're the example. You're going, hey man, we've done it. Other men have done it. Follow me.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say because, I've
been told I have a savior complex sometimes, which I again wrestling with.
So
I do. I take it personal. If a guy just throws his arms up and says, I'm drowning, bro, stay on land. I got this. This is where I need to be. I just take that as like, if I see something in you that you don't see in you, my job is to make you see that.
Right.
And so when I know what you're capable of and you're showing up at 30% of that, I feel like I was put here to show you what 75 looks like, what 85 looks like,
But what's crazy is you can't do your job if a guy won't let you.
I know.
If a guy won't let you save him, it won't let you show him his vulnerability and show you his weakness and allow you to get him some clarity when he's just there's this block up that a lot of men have, and but
it's part of his self-sabotaging loop, and my job is to solve that with him. Not solve it, but show him it enough that he can solve, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm very familiar, like hero villain guide. I actually taught on this at my last event. Like I'm just the guide. You're the hero of this story.
Right.
But it's just like at some point I'm like, as your guide, like my job is to, and just anyway. So that's something I've heavily learned. As far as guys getting in their own way, like I don't know. One of the most common ones is definitely, and we've polled now several thousand men in order to get 500 to show and 300 to sign up. A few thousand men have been polled, and it's lack of self-worth, some version of that, right? They all say it differently. Most men just don't even believe that they're worthy of the life that they say that they want.
Yeah.
So they say that they want these things, and they can scream it, but that's all conscious behavior. That's prefrontal cortex. That's 5% of the game.
Right.
You know? But if you don't believe it at a subconscious level, at a program level, at a core level, you'll always, like, everyone has a thermostat that they kind of tap out at. And there's not a lot of conscious work you can do to bump that up a few degrees. There's not.
We've talked a lot about what gets in the way of guys and what blocks them and what they need. The 3 steps are and how you solve the problem, self-sabotage. Let's kind of flip it a little bit. Look at it on the other side. What are men out there, from your perspective, doing right? What are they doing well? Are there men out there who got it and they kind of surprise you and like, man, dude, like we have our format.
Sure.
But there's other people, if you're racing.
You mean guys in my industry, or just guys in general?
Guys in general and in your industry. Because there's guys you see doing it well, and there's guys you see not doing it so well, and you're like, I don't want to do it like that. But there's also people like, man, they've got something that I've never even thought of. Like, and just also in the general climate of masculinity, what are guys getting right? Because we're always told what we're doing wrong. Oh, toxic masculinity. Oh, men do this, and we're always told what's wrong with us. What are men
it's a small percentage,
right?
It's a small percentage of men, and that's why this country is where it is. Like, this country is in like a severe crisis right now, and really needs strong men. And I just think most men are confused on what it means to be masculine and to be a strong man. And I know from what I do for a living that most of that's rooted in their childhood and the way that they were raised, and some other factors that have effectively programmed them. But I think the guys that I see that are doing it well, I'll use the word fierce again, they have this style of what I call fierce empathy. So it's like, how can you genuinely give a shit about another human?
Yep.
But from a place of strength. You know what I mean? Because again, when guys hear the word vulnerable or hey, check in on your bro or whatever, like a lot of guys will shut down and say that's some guys even say that's some gay shit, right?
Yeah.
They'll go that far with it. That's okay. That's their belief. What I'm saying is, most men that are operating at a high level genuinely give a shit about other people, and they've found a way to express how much they care about other people in a way that exudes, if not like vibrates, like strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how to better explain that. Like,
no, well, they've got a servant heart. It sounds like they have a service first, but it's not a service out of obligation. It's a service out of abundance, because they filled their own cup. They have the capacity to give in excess to other people, and it's not just out of a duty. It's out of compassion. Yeah, it's out of care, like actual love. Like literally, like I just love people. I love everybody, bro. My wife is like my filter, and not that she's cynical, but she's been like the big protector of our kingdom, because I'm, when I meet somebody, dude, like all I see is good. All I see is like, sometimes there's all ways we can collab and there's synergy, but for the most part, I just think everybody's awesome all the time. Right. And so my filter has been heavily like pushed the other way, and I want everyone to win, dude, whatever that looks like. And that can stop things. But I feel like the guys that are winning have found a way again that aren't, again, you just can't, like, this is the problem with even some churches nowadays. It's like they teach things, and there's like this shroud over it of shame and guilt. Like, if you don't do it this way, this is what happens. And it's like, if you don't walk this way, you're not a true Christian. If you don't, and it's like, dude, like there's other ways to teach that don't involve shame and guilt, And so that's one of the hardest things we've had to struggle with, is how do you provide feedback that sometimes stings, punches guys in the mouth, but they know that it's like jab, jab, bear hug. Yeah. It's not jab, jab, uppercut. Like, I'm not beating, as a matter of fact, I'm not even beating you up. Who am I beating up? I'm beating up your walls that you keep putting up. And if you want to jump over here and let's attack old Nick together, there's a really high chance we can do this. Yeah. But if you want to get offended and triggered every time I hit you with the truth, it's gonna be hard for you. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because there's a tough side of love and there's a dark side of truth. Yeah. And everyone thinks truth is all la la, like, yay, truth and love is all like warm and cuddly. But, sometimes truth and tough love is like when you do fall off your rails, your brothers are going to come in, they're going to punch you in the face, don't get an ice bath, and go, dude, get back on track. And it's going to be violent. It's going to be gritty.
Yep.
And it's not going to be comfortable. The body naturally wants three things. And I go back to the Bible because that's what I know best. But the Bible asks us to conquer the flesh. And part of conquering the flesh is controlling your appetite, controlling your sex drive, and controlling your ability to get uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people don't. And what church does well is they do have a broad audience, and they do bring men together, I feel. And I've noticed, I've been in many different masterminds, many different church groups, and there is an appetite across the country of men desiring connection, leadership, a platform for them to develop their own message and grow in their own, masculinity. And we don't, in America, we don't really have like a rite of passage into manhood.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of guys struggle with how much they are supposed to push masculinity into a very alpha type of way, but there's also a feminine side of masculinity too. And finding that balance for you, because all of us can't be alphas. And all of us can't be super feminine.
Sure.
There's a place for all of us along that spectrum. And that's how we build the biggest fortress, or that's how we win the war, is if we have men who cover the whole spectrum in a way.
You've read The Way of Superior Man?
Years and years and years ago.
That's a really good book for men out there to kind of discover what it means to be masculine and feminine. Because a lot of guys, if you say like, hey, you need to show up in your feminine a little bit,
they don't get it. They're like, what are you talking about? Pay my nails?
And I get it. 6 years ago, I'd be like, hey, dude, I don't ever show up feminine, bro. I'm alpha. But there is a time and a place, and I think Jordan Peterson says it well too, when he says something along the lines of better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
Like it's the guy who has the sword but knows when to sheath it.
Yeah.
That's the guy who's powerful and knows when to wield it, right? And I think most men just think, well, I have the sword now. It's all alpha all the time. Like, nah, dude, you got to learn how to control that game.
Yeah, no, it is Peterson. He says he's like, there's no virtue if you're humble and you don't have any, you can't do anything about it. There's no virtue there. And I think a lot of guys go, oh, dude, I'm dangerous. And you're like, dude, you wouldn't scare a 10-year-old across the street. Like you're not controlling anything. Your humility is false.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with one of a program member from years ago, and we were talking about how you can tell yourself a lie so often it becomes your truth.
Oh, that's one of the most common things.
And a lot of guys repeat mantras, wisdom quotes, stoic quotes, whatever, Bible verses. And I think they don't ever, like I said, that we were driving over here, the stumbling block that I see most men is they discount their own life experience and they don't learn and pull their own opinion out of the Word of God, Stoic wisdom, or whatever book they read. They just go,
so they go to church, they hear the sermon, it's got a theme, it's got a particular passage or a quote, and then the pastor breaks down his version of it, right? And then they just take that and run. Yeah. Right. And it's like, well, hold on now. Let's unpack it, because, part of the most beautiful things is healthy debate. You and I should be able to read the same thing and argue, vehemently. And I'll die on this hill. This is what it means to me.
Right.
But most guys, to your point, they lack the courage to take a stand on how does it affect them? How are you going to take this data?
Well, they're seeking liberation, but they settle for direction.
Yeah, 100%.
They listen to someone else and they're like, oh yeah, this guy told me what to do. So then they go, well, now you're a victim of that guy's opinion.
Yeah.
And again, like, I think you're right. Like, and when if 10 of us men read the Bible and we came and talked about it, all 10 of us would have a different perspective on
100%. We should. We should.
But the fallacy is you walk out of here with one opinion that you guys think is right, and it's like that's so wrong.
Yeah.
I hate to say the word wrong, but that's so misguided, because what I've been called to do from those words is Luke's calling. And what you've been called to do and what you pulled from that is Nick's calling.
But how many men do that? By the way, those listening, that's a great indicator that you're on the right path.
You're right.
You know, like one of the things I'm proud of is when every job I ever had, I wouldn't say I rocked the boat, but I would find a way to get to the top, and then I would challenge or at least suggest ways things can be done better. And I remember some people being threatened by that. I could tell you now, LA Fitness in particular.
Yeah.
When I was there for several years, and I finally got called in to get this promotion to like district VP, and the questions they were asking me, I could have played the game. Got my little promotion, and I was like, yeah, it can be done differently. Here's what I gave them a whole. But anyway, what I'm saying is when you could that just takes a lot of belief in self, a lot of like knowing who you are, you know. Because I apologize. It's on D&D, Luke. This is a real life podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Some sort of alarm going off.
We're running on Audible right now.
Yeah.
Nick's favorite.
Yeah. Do live events. You'll run Audibles left and right. But yeah, I think that is a good sign for men trying to figure out, like, man, am I if I was to step in a room with 10 guys and we all had an assignment and we all came with our thoughts, would I leave with another man's thoughts?
Yeah.
You know, as my new belief. And that's a problem, you know. And you could be very close in alignment with that person and et cetera, but you should still be able to discern heavily what you're taking away from this conversation, even this podcast episode. You know what I mean?
But you said it right there. You're leaving with another man's beliefs. And isn't that the essential core of what the program is trying to solve? Like we get our program from other people our entire life. And sometimes we believe that because we're new to this planet.
Yeah.
We're 0 to 7, 0 to 9 before we can actually function, move our arms and think, you know, on our own. But we've had so many people tell us what life should be, what you should be. Oh, you're my son. You need to be like our family. This is how we do it. Yeah. Oh, this is the best financial path for you. And so we've built this picture, and so many of us young folks are like in a rush to become an adult. Oh, I got to get into the real world. I got to get out of here. And I got to just build my life. So then we get into our 20s and we're just building that vision that we had when we were 9 or 10. We build it by the time we're 30, and then we're like, wait a minute, this isn't what I want. Yeah. What you thought
that
it
gut
was.
Check though is what do men do when they hit that wall?
Exactly.
Every man hits that.
Go to the program.
You are. Because the reality is, like, if you've woken up ever and just again looked around and took a little inventory in your life, like your bank account is a printout of the program that you're running.
Yeah.
Your relationships are a printout of your program. Like everything is a reflection or a control P of the things that are running in your brain, and until you can change that, like you're gonna always, your outside world will always reflect or mirror your inside thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we were having this conversation yesterday on the call, and you were asking for feedback on all the deliverables of the program. Yep. Sometimes it's overwhelming. So this guy has this realization, and he goes, "Man, I need to do something about it." So he comes to the program, and he realized that everyone on the program team is an A-level player, and they're throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. And I'm like, dude, I this is intense. Like, I can't run at this pace yet. What is it like? Where does the program put that guy?
Well, we're still figuring some things out, because that's been a very common piece of feedback is like, hey, dude, like, this is insane, and I see it changing other people's lives, but I need to, like, crawl before I jog, before I run, before I marathon. So, I mean, I don't want to go into, like, quote-unquote deliverables, but taking an assessment, again, of where he's at and then putting him, you know, usually with the right coach is going to be crucial, but also, like, in front of the right tools, because, and we've gotten older now, we have, like, literally a member's journey that spans a year, that we think is accurate based on, you know, feedback experience. But at the same time, again, someone could be dropping in and they're on chapter 4 versus chapter 1, or they're on chapter 18. So step 1 is figuring out, you know, where they're at. And a lot of guys, again, if you just ask them, they're always, I'm on chapter 8. I'm the man. Like, give me the things. I'm fast. No, you're not. And that's okay. But by the way, you know what I mean? I don't mean to say it like, no, you're not. Calm down, tough guy. I mean, hey, just again, truth. Hold it up. It's okay. You don't understand these concepts, and neither did I 6 years ago. This is heavy shit, but it works. But you got to take it, like you said, in doses, because you had a beautiful analogy. And by the way, I want to give you credit on the call, so I'll give it here. This is how crazy Luke's brain works. I'm out in, we'll call it Newport Beach, because that's where my daughter is moving, or has moved. And I hit him up because I was at Home Depot. And I was like, I don't want to buy a bunch of tools that my daughter's never going to use. And I've got a lot of projects to do. I'm hanging TVs and so on. So can I borrow some tools so I only have to buy stuff that, you know, she would actually use, you know? And so within hours, we had a call, and I invited Luke on as the guest. And he came up with this beautiful analogy when we were going over how much how many different things we have inside the program and how it can be overwhelming. And I'll let you kind of expound on that because it was genius, but I know it was also just flow state because it's like, man, we just had a conversation about tools that we might not need. And you turn that into an entire, basically 90-minute, like, masterclass for my members. So just break down like kind of what you're talking. I think guys will resonate with that concept.
You're talking about Home Depot?
Yeah, the Home Depot, and not even just my program, but just, you know, help in general, right?
Yeah. So on the call, like, we were just talking, Nick was asking for feedback from the members because we had new members on the call, OG members on the call, and me, I have stepped away from the program for a while, so I was coming back and just having a good conversation with Nick. And I brought up this analogy of Home Depot, and Home Depot's got aisles and aisles and aisles of tools and supplies and everything you could need to build anything you ever want. And it's also got the best salesperson who's equipped to help. Hey, oh, you want to do masonry? I'll talk to our masonry guy. Oh, you want to do carpentry? Talk to our carpenter guy. And a customer comes in, which is men, they come in and there's a lot of guys who just walk in and they don't know what they want to build. Sometimes they know exactly what part they need. They're like, oh, I just need this. Show me where this is at. I'll go get it because I'm building it. And oftentimes the coach isn't even needed. It's just, oh, go to aisle 6, pick it out, and then purchase. Dude, they're in and out. That's not the guy who needs the help.
Yeah.
But the guy who needs the help is the customer who walks in and he's walking around the aisles and he's just kind of like looking around, not sure. He's like not sure what he wants to build. He's just got some idle time in his life, and his wife like has kind of getting on his nerves. And so he's like, man, I got to get out of here and do something. So he's like trying to build like some project in his backyard, but he's not quite sure. So the coach comes up and asks, hey, welcome to Home Depot. We got character traits, we got virtues, we got values, we got principles. What do you need? And the guy's like, I don't know. Well, that coach is now obsolete. The whole store is obsolete. And the guy could come back to Home Depot every single day and waste hours and hours and hours and days, never really getting to build anything in his life. And what is it all for? And then the other guy can come in and he's got a bill of materials. He's like, man, I need 67 2x4s. I need 52 nails. I need a couple of saws. I need this and this and this. I'm building a kingdom. And then somebody's like, I'm building a doghouse. But the thing is,
the guy building the kingdom might come in and ask for all the things. And the coach, salesman, the Home Depot guy, takes him down all the aisles and gives him everything he says that he needs. This is a common one. And then he goes home and he doesn't really know how to work a die grinder, a circular saw, right? But he bought it because it calls for it. Yeah. So these are guys that come in my program that like we have all of these different things to help you get out of your own way to build anything you want. But number one is clarity if you don't know what you want. Number two, like how do you actually get the reps? That's like, so to your point, how do we start a guy off who has never even like used a handsaw before? How do we get him up to using, a table saw, a circular saw, etc.?
Well, there's an educational process with every new tool you buy. Yeah. And we were talking about how yesterday,
but he don't want that. He just wants the blueprint for the biggest thing he could build that makes people say he's cool.
Yeah, and there's men out there who like to build projects, and there's men out there who are carpenters for a living. Yeah. And we were kind of discussing the option and the reality of when you do, become part of the program or adopt this lifestyle. I think a lot of men expect that they're just going to get a cookie cutter plan and they're going to get a cookie that's like a delivered for you. Amazon's like, hey, I bought it, so it should come just pre-assembled with directions that I could just follow.
My wife should be jumping my bones. My bank account should look like this.
But they don't realize it took you 6 years to get here.
Yeah, more than that.
And you're still working on it, and that it's a lifestyle change. And that's why we see so many guys leave, come back, leave, come back, leave, come back. Because what I've found is you can't find that accountability, clarity, and awareness anywhere else.
Yeah.
Some has clarity, some has awareness, some has, no one has all three.
Yeah.
And it's nearly impossible to swim against the riptide of life on your own.
Yeah.
Unless you got somebody telling you which way to go, how to avoid it, somebody looking at you with binoculars going, yo, the riptide's pulling you this way, you need to swim left and swim right to get you out. Like, we are designed to connect. We are designed to be in a brotherhood. And I think the biggest obstacles today are social media and instant gratification and isolation, and men don't know how to relate to each other. They'll do a hobby together, and sometimes it almost feels like self-development is a hobby. Yeah. But that's what you got to do sometimes. You got to unplug and just, we're working on ourselves. Yeah. That's what we do. And so I don't know. It's a huge topic. I'm super passionate about it. I love it. And it's extremely difficult to do on your own.
My number one caveat when people come, because you know me, I don't really sell anymore, is like, look, if you felt something over the last 2.5 days and this feels like your tribe and you want to hang, this is what it looks like. If not, I only ask you one thing: please find a group, find something, because it is not nearly impossible. It is completely impossible to fight alone.
Yeah,
and most men try to go at this game alone, and just find something, some group that will hold you fiercely accountable to your word. Figure out what you want. Start to execute, become aware of how you're getting in your own way, hold another dude accountable, because that will hold you more accountable. And then it's not complicated. I think most of the time as men, we overcomplicate it because it also gives us an out.
Yeah.
Well, if everyone could do it, you know, oh, well, they're the 1% for a reason. Well, you know, it's hard to build this lifestyle where you have faith, family, fitness, and finance completely dialed. That's you know, something's got to give, or, you know, no, dude. No, dude, you're just, it's another story, and that story serves you because it gives you a reason to wiggle out and not execute.
Yeah, and I think there's many paths to enlightenment and freedom and liberation in our life, and full truth and transparency. And you know, I mean, as you know, like I stepped away from the program because I had to find my own. Yeah, I loved working with the program and being part of it, and I still miss it to this day, and I want to be part of it because you can't find anything else like it. But I have to find my own path. And like, I left and started the Rebel Project, and I found that I was just copying what I had known before, all of the versions that I had been part of, and I had to close it all down and crumple it all up. And I'm kind of in that process that you were in 2021, where I'm still untangling threads of my life. Yeah. And I've almost got it untangled all the way. There's still a few left, but I'm laying them all out, going, wow, I got a 10-footer here, I've got a 50-footer here. Okay, I can weave this all together into something amazing, but it's got to be what I do.
My only caveat, so you don't get stuck in that sentence of I found that I was just kind of duplicating all of the things I've done before, is we're all products of our own environment and the things we've been through. So like, there's elements of mine from Nick Long, there's elements from Garrett White, there's elements from, you know, because I've spent $500,000 on personal development over the year. And so I used to have a really big story around that. Like, I can't use that. That's what this guy uses. Well, you know what? It worked for me. Right. And I don't know if there's a certain percentage where I have to tweak it, where I feel comfortable. It's really like, well, I've made it my own over time, but I like the foundational piece of that, so I'm gonna use bits of that. Like, because, you know, I wouldn't say don't reinvent the wheel and carbon copy, but I guess what I'm saying is it will be impossible for you to get this thing back off the ground if you have a story that you are, you know, taking bits and pieces, because those are bits and pieces that you experienced that worked. Yeah. And, you know,
no, that's a very good feedback, you know, and I've kind of gone, you know, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and I was talking about how I'm an explorer, but not necessarily like climbing top of mountains and going exploring new islands out in the ocean. I'm an explorer of philosophy and mindsets and habits, and I'll go hardcore discipline for 2 years.
Yeah, you are.
And then I'll go hardcore, dude, I'm sleeping until 11 a.m. every single day I can. Like,
you're definitely an extremist, because you also do backflips on bikes.
Yeah, I'm all in or all out. Yeah. I don't really have like the middle ground, but I've been exploring the middle ground, and what I found, it just makes me super uncomfortable. I have to be on or off. And the feedback that I've gotten years ago, we did that feedback exercise with all the staff on the program, is the feedback I got was a little rigid. I need to be a little more flexible and be able to just kind of like be in that gray area a little bit more. So I'm working on that. And
so the next question is, why are you uncomfortable in the gray, in the medium? Not that we answer in this podcast, but I guess if I'm coaching you, that would be like the next move is like, okay, let's explore that. Because like you said, we went from the branches to the roots, and then eventually we got to get to the seed. And it's just, all it is question after question.
It is.
And they get harder to answer, and they get more triggering, and they, you know, and they require more soul searching. And again, most men are like, this is ridiculous. All right, well, when you're ready to figure out why you were planted.
I mean, the Bible verse that says, like, you're neither hot nor cold, you're lukewarm, and I'd rather you be hot or cold. Like, I feel like, you know, the gray area is just too slippery.
I'm a fan of extreme. You know me.
Yeah, I like binary. I like, you know, just light, dark, black, white. Like, the gray area, there's too much wiggle room. You can't pin anyone down.
Sure.
And so
a lot of guys live in that area. We talk about it for that reason.
And I've lived in that area. And the reason why I don't want to be in that area is because like I said, when I do the Socratic method to people, like I don't really like force my opinion on people, but I just ask them questions and then I take all of their information and put it back together in a puzzle. And I go, is this what you said? And then when you reflect back, exactly their own words, like, no, that's the gray area to me. Because you don't even know what black or white looks like. Yeah. And so that's why I hate that area for me. And I found, especially over the last year, I've really just backed off and I put health as my priority, and self-development and discipline have fallen way off the wayside for me. And it's miserable. I'm not going to lie. Like it's miserable. I'm going to tell the truth.
That's the same.
To be honest, how many times can I get Nick to snap?
I'm a busted wrist by the time.
If I can be honest for once,
come on. I have to do it now. Switch.
No, but it's miserable, and it's the miserable part. Actually, for me, comes from judging it. And I had a guest on the podcast that I'll be launching soon, Ryan Hughes, and he was saying, he's like, dude, be okay with having an off day.
Yeah, that's why you don't judge it.
An off season. Why do you got to judge it? Why do you, dude, you judge your whole life and you had a perfect score and then you've missed one or two things and now your whole year is shot. What should you
replace judgment with?
Acceptance and grace.
I like curiosity.
Curiosity, yeah.
I'm always, even like this whole, like, I know where we're sitting, so I know where we sit politically, but like this whole divide in this country right now, everyone is so quick to just judge the other side. Have you ever just tried to be a little curious?
Yeah.
Because it is mind-blowing how a guy can, sit on a burning cop car with a Mexican flag and wave it. And then the initial reaction for those of us on the red side are like, well, if you love Mexico that bad, then go back because that's where we're trying to send you.
Right.
How dare you wave your flag on my cop car? I get it, right? And so we go straight to judgment. You're like, oh, fuck this guy, right? Well, try to understand, seek to understand, not to judge. So how can you just try to figure out how does this guy, he's willing to die on that hill?
Yeah.
How is he willing how does he believe so much at his core that he should be waving the flag of another country in a country that's trying to, you love it so much, but you don't want to live there.
Yeah.
Right. It's another sentence that we could all say out loud. And then most of us say, yeah, it makes sense. Okay. But then what does judgment get you? It gets you angry at him.
I know.
It gets you worked up. And that's what this country wants. That's what the algorithm is designed. I have to remind my wife all the time. And anybody that's constantly screaming politics is like, the algorithm is designed to spread you further and further apart. So it only shows you shit that makes the other side look ridiculous and makes you look awesome.
Yep.
And then they see the exact opposite, which is why they're so, stuck in their views and they won't budge. Which, how many times people, you can listen to this, how many people have you unfriended this year because of their political beliefs? And you think you're right and you judge the other side when the reality is we're all being played to a degree. Now, I'm all for figure out what you believe in at your core values, and stand up for them, and again, die on that hill.
Right.
But not by forsaking others.
Right.
How can you be there and be like, man, because you can almost say the sentence like, I won't say feel bad for you because that's kind of looking down on them, but it's like, I'll never understand where you're coming from, but I'm also not going to hate you for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not explaining that well, but I always have to remind myself curiosity over judgment.
Yeah. It's the great, giving people grace and space, I think, is what stands out for me. And it's like, you can believe what you want, you can do what you want, but to force it on anyone else is where we have to draw the line. And it's like, we all can coexist.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying she should step on a burning cop car.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything what they do is right. I'm just like, it does mean no good to get so worked up. Because here's another thing we can all agree: if we don't know the statistics, people are being pulled that are legal, and even if it's just 1 out of every 25, that's probably a pretty scary feeling.
Right.
And so there are a certain amount of people that definitely are feeling vindicated or justified in their behavior.
Right.
And so there's so many ways to unpack this thing. So it's like, 90% of the time I'm all the way over here and I agree, but I just try not to like hate the other side.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't serve me. I lose. The minute I react and I get worked up and I get like, I lose.
Yeah. It causes a whole different energy in you when you're judging, thinking about it, like obsessing on it, trying to understand it without getting the actual data, talking to those actual people.
Well, the problem is, say that word again, the actual data, those words.
The actual data.
It's not here.
Yeah.
Look, so I was an attorney for a long time, and you see what they can deep fake now. Like, it was actually called deep fakes back in the day. Now, like, so when I was an attorney, video was God. Pictures were second to God. Like, as far as like evidence it's called irrefutable. There's no way to refute this. I'm on camera stabbing somebody. Let's go that far with it, unfortunately. That's it. Well, I can go create a video of you shooting me in the parking lot right now. And it will be, I mean, as far as like what used to hold up in court was like a grainy black and white video from a 7-Eleven. The AI is way past that now. So like, I know I'm just using that as an example because that's the world I live in. But the question is, what is true anymore? What is true? Because they said it on Fox is true, because they said it on CNN is true. Well, both people believe that. Both sides of the fence believe their truth. And again, it's just frightening, dude.
Is truth absolute?
Yes. The question is, we're getting to a place where you can no longer prove truth. That's what scares the shit out of me.
That's really scary.
Yeah. Again, what happens if a video surfaced of you abducting a kid in a Jack in the Box bathroom? I don't know. I'm making shit up, right? What the fuck are you gonna do? And you don't have an alibi that says you were somewhere else. You don't have a cell phone ping tower.
That they have a technology to identify if a video is AI created.
Cool answer. You're fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying that's.
I don't worry about things. I don't worry about things. By the way,
let's say it goes through a 7-year court battle, and you're such a minor. Like we're both like not big enough in the world where no one's going to watch our court trial, right? And so maybe it turns out that on this 6th year, you know, the technology says it was all bullshit, but for 5-6 years, your name was dragged through the mud as a pedophile in the court of public opinion. What do you do?
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that's just, and that's a harsh example, and I apologize, but I'm just saying it's like. We're in a spot right now, and this isn't going to become an AI conversation, but it's like, because I'm so obsessed with the truth, it's almost like a feeling now. It's almost like it's like you can't, you know, and that's why I believe like social interaction is so crucial, and we're going to run a lot more live events because people are going to crave more and more, similar to what was happening in COVID. People are going to crave getting in front of people. Like on my podcast, and I think you're doing it too, I don't do virtual guests. Just don't want to do it. I'd like to meet you. I'd like to shake your hand. I'd like to talk to you face to face. Let's have, you know what I mean? And so to me, the only way someone will ever get to the truth, and even then they won't, absolute truth, is like to actually be with that person and see their, I don't know, man. I can go crazy on this.
Well,
but
do you feel like it's an obligation for men and women to defend truth? And if so, how?
Yeah,
stand up for truth, uphold truth. How are they supposed to do that when the whole world, the tide of life on social media is pushing fake, and it's all under the guise of entertainment? But it's scary because the young kids are believing this as true.
Yeah,
and what they're seeing is curated.
And the lies are more sexy because the fake is more sexy.
Right. So it is a scary thing, and I do think this is a whole other topic.
Yeah, you're a social pariah if you try to
for us to talk about. But how do you defend truth in a world full of artificial?
I think people are starting to develop, dare I say it, like full communities and starting to ostracize themselves because they have found it to be, in my personal experience, I have found it to be almost impossible to defend truth in a world full of liars because it is a declaration of war. And right now, I'll go back and maybe not say the devil's winning, but you know, there's two pendulums, or there's a pendulum swinging, and there's good and evil, right? And for a long time, and I don't know when it's going to come back to good, but evil's been winning. Evil's heavily funded, right? You got BlackRock and all things, Soros, again, the list goes on. But what I'm saying is like evil is got more resources because they're willing to do the shit you and I would not do from a place of integrity, truth, etc.
Right.
Part of the mission of the program in bringing guys over to truth is to try, even only 500 guys deep, we got to get bigger, I guess, to try to swing that pendulum in my lifetime. I want this to be part of my legacy. I want to try to push that pendulum closer to truth. Now, what I will say, and I think you can agree with this, God is showing up in a big way right now. Have you, like, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but I see God everywhere now. And maybe it's just because I'm more connected to him, so I just see it. Could be, you know, what's it called? Confirmation, was a reticular activating system, right? But what I'm saying is things that didn't used to, because it was not politically correct to talk about God, are now talking about God.
Yeah.
From shows to songs to movies to obviously like podcasts like this are becoming the new method of communication. Like big news is kind of dead. But what I'm saying is I feel like, and maybe it's just the circles I'm running in, the conversations around faith and God are at an all-time high.
Absolutely.
So I feel like there's something massive coming, but for far too long, I'm 44 years old. I've just watched evil do whatever it wants to whoever it wants, whenever it wants. And it's been scary, man.
No, there's a huge revival of Jesus and curiosity in the Bible and God, and people are abandoning spirituality and looking for more of the principles. And they're what I've seen is people are pulling new perspectives out of the Bible that I've never seen before. Yeah. And I love the curiosity there. And I think that COVID and the whole pandemic and all that stuff had a huge thing. The whole last 5 years of a political climate has had a huge impact on that. But there's a tide shifting. But I think the only catalyst that's going to keep that fire burning is going to be courage, because it's one thing to know God and Jesus and understand and maybe accept all that, but it's another thing to fight for him.
Sure.
And
you have to be willing to lose everything, because in this day and age, you very likely will.
Yeah. And sometimes, I think what's hard stumbling block for a lot of believers is that in a war against evil, you sometimes have to do some violent things. Sure. You put yourself in some shady areas in order to preserve goodness and righteousness and grace. And you have to get your hands dirty.
Sure.
To fight that battle, because fear has no rules.
No.
Evil has no rules.
No constraints.
And so going back to those roots and those beliefs, if your belief system, if you think that, goodness is going to win, but you've got such limited fighting tactics, how is goodness ever supposed to win? And I think a lot of people outsource the victory to God a little bit too much, and they sit on the sidelines instead of being on the front lines. Yeah. So that's a deep conversation for me.
We definitely will segue completely on this
But let's wrap this thing up. So you've seen me do my thing. I interview on the podcast. Feedback is your favorite word. What feedback do you have for me?
Specific to
our whole relationship. We work together. You've seen me do my thing in life. We just had a conversation. Some of the best conversations we've had on your porch.
Yeah.
With cigars usually out on a deck somewhere. We've had some eye-opening program calls.
I would like to see you go ape shit with the Rebel Project. I would like you to commit to like something, tangible, because when you were in the program, you were, I can say crowd favorite, but that's almost a cheap term. You had a way of connecting with guys that oftentimes was better than I could connect. Like we have our own style, and some guys don't deal well with my flipping tables over. I'm either, I'm extreme, right? I'm either flipping something over or I'm crying. I only have two gears. And you had a way of getting things and pulling greatness from our members in a way that was, I guess the Socratic method was obviously part of that, but just was calming, you know what I mean? And people felt comfortable around you. So to me, you have a gift, a God-given gift, and I'm not sure where you're at with the Rebel Project. I mean, we briefly touched on it, and you kind of scrapped it. You're going to put it back together.
Yeah.
But I know that you have the ability to lead a massive movement, and obviously the only person stopping you is you. And so how many times do you have to investigate the story before you take what I consider massive action? Because you've taken action. One of my wife's favorite phone calls, you called us once after you ran your first event, and she loves it because we've got a call from a couple people, and this shit's fucking hard. I just want to give you and Nick credit, because I don't ever do the behind the scenes shit. And you guys put together these massive events, and you travel all over, and you there's so much like herding cats and whatever, and you're like,
yeah,
like you had a new appreciation for this game, right? So my wife always talks about that. She's like, I'm glad people like somewhat see what it takes to get this thing and keep it moving. But I guess where I'm going with that is like, how do you put Luke under pressure that's healthy, that can expose more of your program, but bear the fruit that is the Rebel Project, right? And so to me, that would be like an ask, I guess. But feedback-wise, man, yeah, I think you have a crazy ability to not only connect with men and pull out their greatness, but like, again, I literally, and I should have said it on the call, and I'm glad we got to record it here. The whole time you were like basically running my call for 90 minutes yesterday. Huh?
I tried not to run it.
No, not running. I didn't mean it like that. No, dude, I invited you for a reason. No, what I'm saying is like, dude, you know me. I'm the first one to say, hey, bro, this is my call.
Land the plane.
Stay in your lane. Yeah, we got a problem. No, yeah, I saw your genius. I saw you in flow state, you know, and like, and how do you find more of that? I love this new journey you're on with like getting rid of everything and you know, kind of going nomad and not having attachment to things. But yeah, man, it's just how can you actually apply all the things that you've been able to accomplish and experience in this world? How can you apply that to helping other men just be better men?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's something I'm definitely passionate about, and just figuring out how to do it my way. It's the most important thing. I got to do it Luke's way. And I'm not saying Luke has to create the whole and like recreate the wheel, but I tend to do that. And it's like, it's just working backwards.
But the same thing we do on this podcast, go down the path. Like, I didn't know the program would be what it is right now.
Yeah.
4 years ago, no way. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm constantly, and my wife would say, and some of my members would say I tweak things too much, but it's like I'm constantly developing. We've gotten tighter and tighter with our message and our niche as a result of just taking massive action and running into a wall and say, that stuff, we're going to run into another wall. And I'll run into 5 walls before most people get off the fence, dude. And I'm okay with that because I've learned a ton. You know, and some of them are painful lessons, you know, they're expensive lessons. They're maybe cost me members or cost me money, but I wouldn't change the way I approach it for the world.
Well, that's one of the greatest attributes that I've witnessed in you is resilience. And that's what the R stands for in Rebel, is resilience. Yeah. And your resilience is unparalleled from what I've seen.
Thanks.
You know, you do hit, you know, all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Nobody knows about all the stress, all the payments that guys do, like, you know, that are flipping flopping. It's all the stories and how many times you've tried to work with people and be, all right, dude, cool. We understand your story. Let's do this. And you provide options, and it's, and then the locations and the down payments, the deposits and all that stuff. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But you know, you also don't hold it in. Like when you push through, you break down those walls, and then you'll cry about it. You'll get pissed about it. You'll hang up calls and you'll yell at coaches and yell at members.
I like to share it from stage too. You know, some people say that's a no-no. I'm like, hey guys, like when I talk about this new property, like when I talk about the woes of the other property, we got it taken out from underneath us in the 11th hour. Why? Because I messed up. Because I raised money with guys that were property developers, and they saw an opportunity, and they didn't know me from Jack.
Yep.
And they swiped it for 1.6 more than I offered, and it was a painful lesson. And I had to own that and tell people, like, all the social media and stuff I did around Elysium, we lost it in the 11th hour because I'm still learning, guys.
Dude, but
you know what I mean?
if you didn't let off all the steam though and express it and be transparent, I think you would combust.
Yeah.
And the program would combust if you tried to hold it all in, which is, again, the problem that most men do. We try and suppress and hold on and bear the weight of everything, but you let it all out. And that's your second, like, greatest quality from what I could see is resilience and just vulnerability and transparency and just expression. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you being on the show. Is there any last words, comments, curse words, cuss words?
Questions, comments, concerns, and cuss words?
Yeah, that one.
Go-to line? Nah, man. I appreciate you for having me. I didn't know this was going to happen. We were moving furniture yesterday. He said, we're doing a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, man. Because to us, if we could have just recorded what we did the other night on my porch, smoking cigars, if we could have rewind the call, it's just, these are conversations, man. I hope people like realize that. And maybe we were a little all over the place at times, but the most organic way to do this is to just put a couple people in front of some mics, have a powerful conversation, and it goes where it goes.
That's true.
So thank you for having me, brother.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of the Rebel Project podcast. If this conversation moved you, taught you something, or made you reflect, then please consider liking and subscribing to my YouTube page and follow the podcast so you can see episodes whenever you want to listen. My mission is to keep having these raw, real conversations with the rebels, outliers, and humans who are unapologetically themselves and willing to disrupt the status quo in order to become the best version of who they were created to be. So join me on that mission and subscribe, comment, share this episode and any other episode you like, and keep challenging yourself to become the rebel that the world needs. Nick, where can people find you if they need to on social media?
I'm just not getting good at this. Reprogram.ai. All my handles on social for my personal is just the Nick Alfano.
Okay.
So that's probably the best way to find me.
And the Instagram is reprogram everything.
Yeah, reprogram everything.
For the hashtag on that. Yeah. So if you guys need to find Nick, that's where you find him. Thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next time.